So we're on Article 29?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, if I go back, start by doing the second presentation that we have, the shorter of the two. I think it's going to be like a 16-pager. This goes all to the pension changes we're proposing. So back in 2014 it was, the city and the FOP agreed to significant changes to the pension system, which since that time has resulted in a funded ratio in the high 80s, low 90s. One of the things that we're not seeing is officers hanging around. I think we've only had a handful of retirements in that time period. The average age of service in the pension is currently 10 years. And as you can see, for many, many years, it was stagnant, didn't move at all, which is a result of the high turnover. So we engaged GRS consultants, who are the actuaries for the pension, to run several scenarios for us. There's 3 changes to pension benefits that we're proposing. The first is a COLA. COLA would be a 2% annual beginning retirement for 10 years, so just a 10-year period. Thought process behind that: age of retirement is 55, plus 10 gets you to 65, which is darn close to full retirement age for Social Security. Since we pay into Social Security at that point, cost of living for the retiree could be shifted over to the Social Security side. Funding stream for that be an increase, 2% increase in the employee contribution rate from 7.95 to 9.95.
Well, since we're funding it ourselves.
The slide 9, these were numbers straight off of the August 14th GRS report, where we came as close as we could to funding that benefit with the increased contribution. I think the dollar amount goes up around $60-something thousand impact to the city. Any questions on that?
Agent?
No, I'll wait.
Well, I mean, if it's specific to, because all the numbers that GRS ran were because we looked at different funding streams for the different benefits. So we somewhat compartmentalized them so that we didn't have to have 18 different moving pieces for the pension. So it would be the way to fund the benefit would
Sure.
be more clearly recognized.
So y'all, Madam Chair, if I may, y'all increasing your contribution rate to 9.95%, that will be contingent on whether or not you receive the increases you're looking for in
No.
3 years in compensation, or right now you can just go ahead and up your contribution to 2%, or 9.95%.
What do you mean? Is the COLA?
Contingent on some of the other items you're proposing?
No, this is a 2% increase is, so if the employee contribution rate changes to 9.95, the benefit that you would be seeking is a 10-year, 2% COLA.
I know that amount of 9.95% is pretty close to what the JSO contributes to theirs. They're at 10%,
But
they don't participate.
So they're 401, they don't participate, so that's really an apples to oranges.
Yeah, the pension plan is close to new hires.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
And there's no
that's,
social security.
I know.
and any changes we made to the pension benefit,
Sure.
we tried to find a way to
Sure.
because there's nothing that kills a pension faster than an unfunded benefit.
Sure. Okay, I just need a little clarity on that, thank you very much.
All right, the next one is an increase in the backdrop guaranteed rate. Right now, it's 3% a year, we propose increasing that to 6%. I mean, the fund is making, the actual rate of return is about 7.5%. So, city's making money, the pension fund's making money on retirees, and we propose increasing it to 6, which is still less than the rate of return during that period. And then on slide number 11, you'll see the GRS. It's about $17,000 a year, and that's assuming that, you know, officers take the back. Any questions on that one?
Not counting Corbin, who's taking advantage of a full 3-year backdrop?
I'd have to look, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
I
except
can't think of
maybe
anybody,
Corbin.
since we made the change from drop to backdrop.
Right.
We haven't had that many retirees, so, we can look at it, but I don't know.
Any questions on that? Last one is a prior service buyback benefit, and this has two arms to it, if you will. The first one is a forward-looking, so it would apply to all new hires. All new hires would have the opportunity to purchase prior active duty military, prior full-time law enforcement, or prior full-time correction service up to 36 months, and they would make an additional 20% contribution of their base pay to the, as an employee contribution.
Additional 20%?
20%,
One time?
nope, every paycheck.
In order to be able to buy back that time?
Correct.
Or- Okay,
And it is
and then once they're done buying it back, then they're no longer contributing that 20%?
the additional, correct. So they're, assuming the COLA, their rate would be 29.95%.
So they're essentially set up on like a payment plan?
It's a payment plan is what it is.
And we still haven't discussed the 2-year versus the 3-year program, and I realize all the slides are designed to 3 years.
And that's why, and that's, so, and we'll talk about, nasty word of wage reopener later, and understanding and, being sympathetic to the city's position. But the reason that we did propose a 3-year contract was because that takes full advantage of what we're about to talk about here next, which is the,
I knew, yeah, I knew we were coming to that. Got it.
So, the actuary, put in language, we'll skip ahead to 15. Given the above criteria, our analysis supports that 20% of payroll deduction will cover the cost of up to 36 months of service buyback for new members. It's also important to note that they are not buying service time for the purpose of age or required service. So it would still be 25 to 52, 25 years of service at age 52, 10 years of service fully vested at age 55, or 30 years. So it would not allow an employee to buy 3 years and let's say retire at 7 at age 55. So again, they're still gonna be required to work that, and that's, actuarially helps the numbers. So you're not, somebody's not retiring early, they're just receiving a benefit for their service.
So they would still have to meet the 10 years, they would
Yes,
have to
ma'am.
meet all the provisions of the plan.
Yes, ma'am.
This would just be in addition to
Yes, ma'am.
their years of service to provide that.
Again, that was for new employees. So that's a huge recruitment tool for the city and the department to be able to attract those officers, those former service members that assimilate, matriculate well at our department.
Okay. Karen? Ma'am?
Of course.
So you would look for them to be able to buy back up to 3 years, even if, let's say, the prior employer they were at also offered them a pension?
Unvested, I'm sorry,
Unvested.
left that little hyphenated word out. So if it is not, so if you have retirement from the military,
Sure.
you cannot purchase time.
Okay.
If you have,
Or if like somebody came from JSO and retired.
correct. Correct. And we have several people who have retired from either military service or other law enforcement agencies. If they are either A, vested or B, drawing retirements, they are not eligible, to purchase time under our proposal.
So you're trying to appeal them to maybe that other demographic who was at an employer not long enough to vest and, okay.
We're looking, again, for those 4 to 8 year service members, did their first, possibly second floor duty, or however, people that, officers, correction officers, which, again, can fit well into a police department, to be able to attract them, so that in their mind, their prior service isn't lost.
It isn't lost, but it's being paid by.
It counted for something.
It counted, yeah. In their, that's right, in the officer's mind, it counted for something, and Jack's Beach is.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Okay, I get it.
Especially with, a lot of police departments moving away from the defined benefit plan, the defined contribution. There's, as Steve talked about, there is a significant cost to train, especially brand new police officers. As Keith talked about, that cost can be significantly lowered by bringing in more experienced tenured officers from other departments. It's a huge recruitment tool and potential cost savings upfront to the city.
And how do we find out whether they are receiving from the other agency, any of the benefits, or pay, or?
So it would be incumbent upon them to provide documentation, either the military, DD 214, or a letter from prior human resources from that, that city, municipality, state agency, whatever it was, for their time of service.
Okay. Just as a quick aside, like I represented an officer 15 years ago. He was getting benefits, and I'm not really quite sure exactly everything he was getting, but he had an oceanfront home and a big boat, and he worked for and retired from NYPD. Then I think it was West Palm Beach PD, and then Palm Beach County Sheriff's Department. So by that time, he was somehow deriving something from all 3 agencies when he was in his, he was 70 or so. In this scenario, that guy, that deputy I represented, he would not have been able to had all 3, because if we, Jack's Beach, were his 3rd stop, and his scenario was Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, it would have to either be the other 2 or nothing, right? Because we
No,
wouldn't.
He could still earn time and retire from our department. He would not be eligible to purchase, buy back prior service time. So
Got it.
everything still remains in place.
Okay.
So if we have, an officer who retires from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, applies with our agency, they are still going to earn, they're still gonna make their, current employee contribution. They are still eligible once they meet, the 10-year age 55 requirement for retirement. However, they cannot purchase
Got it.
additional time.
Okay, got
to
it.
that.
That's the little nuance in there. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, again, nothing changes other than the buyout. So we kept the age requirement, service requirement, and it's not lessening their service.
Okay.
So the fund agencies will use a one-time payment, and then they'll fund it back that way. There are several different methods. This one is, the one that we chose, and then we had the actuaries.
Got it.
The other one would be for our current members. That would,
Which page are you on?
Slide 14.
12. And, buyback number 2. So what we're proposing is a 3-year where the union will give chapter 185 monies. That will fund a purchase of up to 13 months for all eligible employees, which there are currently 28 that have average service ranging anywhere from 14 to 264 months, an average of 6 years. So the chapter monies would fund 13 months, and then the employee would have the option of either financing, if they're eligible, up to that 36 months of a 20% payroll deduction, or 40 hours of leave, which is where we're going back to the personal leave bank. A deduction of 40 hours of personal leave per month of credited service. So, example, if the employee had an additional 12 months, or 1 year of credited time that they wish to purchase, they would give 480 hours of leave, thereby significantly decreasing either payouts under our personal leave, retirement payouts. There would be a lessening by that amount. Where we got the 40 hours from was if you take 20, that 20% equates to about a little over 35 hours per pay period. If you try to make an hour conversion from a base pay conversion. So 2080 divided by 26 divided by 5 gives you, like I said, a little over 35. Went ahead and just went with 40 because it's a nice round number and it errs on the side for the city.
And in this case, sorry, Kim.
No, go
In
ahead.
this case, you're looking to pay for that by having us apply the excess insurance tax money that we receive.
Correct,
Future-
185 monies.
Future stream, right?
Correct, all 3 years, yes ma'am, which, again, he ran his numbers at 228, I believe you just got a number of 251, is that correct?
228 is what's currently programmed in the budget for FY 21 as of right now.
Correct,
So that would
didn't
be
the announcement just come out last week?
The announcement may have just come out last week, but we submitted our budget to the council mid-July.
I understand that, I'm just saying, and we ran our numbers based on, you know, what was, but I believe moving forward, I believe the announcement from the state was 251 was the number. What I'm saying is these numbers are a little notch under what is, we asked the actuary to stay on the conservative side. And then any other, and again, in addition to the 13 months, what would be funded would be by the employee. And then on slides 15 and 16, the notes from the GRS from their letter to us.
in your, proposal, I understand you didn't include these proposals in the document that you
Correct.
gave us, but you did, strike 29.12, which of course was those excess premium tax revenues at October 1st, 2016.
Yeah, that was what we had accumulated up to the last negotiation.
And you were striking that just because that has already been applied and it's no longer necessary language?
Yes,
or-
ma'am.
Okay. So you did not propose any change to 2911 that says all annual premium tax revenues received will be used to offset the city contribution?
I mean, we can strike that because obviously that was a mistake on my part.
So your proposal would be to strike 2911 and 2912?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then, I guess what would be the new 2912, I don't know if it's even necessary because that was the language implementing the share plan that
Right.
Eric had put in last time. Obviously, it's already been
It's already been applied.
and we're not using it for any sort of individual officers. So
Right, so that language, 2912, should be stricken only because it's no longer necessary language.
it's very similar to 2911, it just doesn't apply.
Okay.
I guess we'd have to amend 2910 as well.
Yes, and then you would be
Oh, sorry.
proposing to amend that to 9.95.
The employee contribution shall be 9.9.
Again, because there were so many moving parts on Article 29, and the language would have to be significantly reworded on several sections, we
Mhm.
can really delve into that article very much.
I think I understand your proposals, but it